Breaking news today. Venezuela's support for Ukraine has grown in the wake of Russia's war. Undertones is the newsletter of Global Voices Civic Media Observatory, and this interview is a part of that publication. Join Undertones today. Greetings, and welcome back to Undertones, the newsletter that explores the world's less heralded stories. One of our researchers, Alessandra Soler, a human rights and democracy activist in Venezuela, was kind enough to speak with us this week about the reaction of her countrymen to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. This newsletter concludes a series we have been running on Russian stories in Latin America. It's likely common knowledge that Venezuela backs Russia in its war against Ukraine. To President Putin, a brother of Venezuela, President Maduro extended an official hug of solidarity back in June. These public spectacles have, however, obscured other narratives from Venezuela. We must distinguish between the Venezuelan government and the Venezuelan people, who have protested this war, Soler says. It was this realization that led her to collaborate with the Civic Media Observatory and publish, for Venezuelans, The Invasion of Ukraine Hits Close to Home, on Global Voices. Following is a question and answer session focusing on her research and notable media appearances. When the war in Venezuela first broke out, many people took to the streets to protest. Is the war still a topic of conversation in Venezuela? Alessandra Soler. There were a number of spontaneous demonstrations in Caracas against the war when it first broke out. Since then, the topic has been discussed periodically, typically after significant events such as the Ukrainian Spring Offensive. All of these discussions center on Russia's treatment of Ukraine and its parallels to the crisis in Venezuela. The International Criminal Court has opened separate investigations into Russian President Vladimir Putin and the government of Venezuela. It serves as a meeting place. There is also discussion about the war's outcome and its potential effects on Venezuela on social media. Wagner Group, a Russian state-funded mercenary organization, in Venezuela is a topic of conversation in online forums as well. We can't be sure, but estimates put the number of Wagner mercenaries in Venezuela at 400. They are blamed for keeping Maduro safe during 2019's political crisis in Venezuela. They also watch out for Russia's interests there. The crisis between Maduro and Juan Guaido, who was recognized as interim president and who received a lot of international support following the 2018 elections, reached its apex in 2019. Russian propaganda aims to justify Moscow's invasion by challenging Western claims about the conflict. That the West is less powerful than what you think is another goal, as is demonstrating that Russia is supported internationally. The government and their army of media and social media outlets push it relentlessly. Because of this ongoing effort, the message will reach you frequently. Russia-friendly narratives are promoted during major international events like the 2016 U.S. election, the 2017 Catalonian independence referendum, and the Colombian presidential campaign in support of the leftist Gustavo Petro. When it comes to messages that serve their interests, Venezuela and Russia work together. The strategy relies not on blatantly pro-Russian rhetoric like, Russia is the best, but rather on sowing distrust in official sources with statements like, look how they are lying to you. The Venezuelan government now uses the same language and narratives as Russia. Basically, it's just a clone of Russia Today and Sputnik. Maduro's base of support continues to be between 10 and 15% of the population. It's not nothing, and it demonstrates how potent Chavismo's ideology can be. Whatever story the government wants to tell, including those about the war in Ukraine, will have that baseline to back it up. I have analyzed this in the context of a story about a mural painted by Chavista supporters depicting the late President Chavez and Putin, the Venezuelan and Russian flags, the Z symbol used by Russian forces, and the phrase, Venceremos, we will prevail.